there. This is the AntHole with straight up gay talk, and I'm Herbert, and this is
Terrell.
And we're talking about beards. We're talking about girlfriends, our good girlfriends, the ones sometimes we go shopping with. We're talking about what the old saying about fag hags and how women have affected our lives and how we love them. It's that love-hate type of thing we have with them.
Mm-hmm.
So, Terrell, how do you feel about saying men having beards?
I did not hear about beards until I moved here in the early 90s. I never heard about that concept of it. Even though I was doing it, technically, well, no, I wasn't. Well, wait a minute. If I'm a beard, I'm acting as if I'm straight and I have a woman on my arm, right?
I mean, she's acting straight. I mean, she's your cover. She's saying that you her man.
Okay.
she's saying that y'all, and sometimes y'all even get married, and sometimes y'all even have families and kids together. Sometimes y'all have all those kind of concepts together with.
Well, see, I don't think I ever really, because I'm thinking back when I was back in Alabama, my small town. I mean, if I went to like a dance, I went with a girl, but you had to do that back then. That was the 80s. So that wasn't necessarily my beard. That was just.
But did they know you were gay?
Yeah, the majority of the girls that I hung out with knew I was gay.
And so y'all were hugging and kissing and going on like,
Oh, no, I wouldn't be hugging and kissing them.
Okay.
No, we were slow dance.
So y'all were just friends, basically. Y'all were not no beard. Because beards go all the way from just not just slow dancing. You kissing, you hugging, you doing the whole thing about it.
No, I wasn't going to do all that. Now, I would do the slow dancing with them, like Ready for the World Tonight or, Luther Vandross, but Only for One Night. So, you would do the little grind thing, but, that was just preparing me for later on tonight. And they were prepared, too, because as soon as the dance was over, we were going to all go our separate ways.
Well, see, that wasn't considered, basically. That was
So
fun.
I don't think I ever had a beard. And visually, let's say even in the 90s, when I was like in relatively good shape, visually, I looked straight. But once I moved or started talking, then people would get it. Because I have women who would say, do women come on to you? And I'd say, yeah, as long as I'm standing still. But as soon as I create any type of kinetic energy, they're like, oh, shit, he's gay. So I don't think I really ever had a beard, but I know what you're talking about, though. So physically, I never had it. But I've had female friends I hang out with. But they weren't compensating for me in any kind of way. Because 3 of them were part of the group growing up. It was me, another guy who was gay, and then we had 3 female friends. And we would all hang out. But we were just hanging out.
In my growing up about women, I never ever was saying I was in the closet. I had, say, girlfriends, and actually I was sleeping with them. They didn't know that I was gay. They didn't know, because at that time you worked hard. I'll be honest with you. I came from that mentality, a little pussy every now and then would not hurt nobody, and I'd be gay. And I really would be gay and be having men, and we were all acting straight. We were all on the DL. But the women never knew, or they never act like they knew. They never even suspected that I could even think of about us, because it was a different feel in Texas. Mm-hmm. It was a totally different feel in Texas. And so when it came to having sex, I outdid myself. I did everything from suck on toes and ate pussy at the time, and did all the stuff that she would do. And I'd be thinking of these other men that I'd say, oh yeah, I'm fucking him, but I'm eating the pussy, and I'd be doing all that stuff. I learned to eat pussy very well.
Why do you keep saying that? Oh my God, prepare me.
I did. I was the ultimate. So it was like these women were fighting over me, because a lot of times back then.
Well, yeah, you told me about that woman you ate.
Yeah.
You were performing, I say cunnilingus. You were performing cunnilingus on her, and she lost consciousness.
And I called my daddy. Yeah, I called my dad to know what was going on. I didn't know, but so I went through the straight thing, but they did not put two and two together at that time. That after I would do all that, I was running to the glory hole at the bookstores at the time, trying to go to the bookstore and trying to suck some dick afterwards.
Well, what
They
did,
didn't know
did she
that.
regain consciousness? Did you throw water on her or something?
So my daddy laughed and said, just call her, get a wet towel and wipe her face. It was like, but I got into it. So it showed at that time because I got into it. And my whole thing was my first threesome was not with a man and a man. My first threesome was with two women, and one was a stripper that I was going with. Now, how did I get this stripper? That's a whole nother story. But
So what age were you when you lost your virginity?
16,
Oh, okay.
16.
Well, see, I was like 3 years ahead of you.
But
With a man or a woman?
with a woman.
So when did you have the male experience?
I had the touching and male experience, but we didn't go through the full. It was just touching, exploring. The full male experience, it didn't happen until I was 20.
Oh my goodness, I had already had 2 novels out of that. Oh my goodness
It was
gracious.
funny. It was very sweet. As a matter of fact, we had lost touch, and he got in touch with me before he passed away, and he just told me he always loved me, and he's always been in my life, and he knew that I was his first, and there was a whole bunch of stuff. And it was very sentimental and very touching before he passed away. He had cancer, and he passed away in 2025, the January 2025.
No, like a year ago. Oh,
Yeah, it's been a year ago now. But he got in touch with me before. He wanted to see me. Then I was kind of like, hey, where you been? I haven't seen you and talked to me. You ain't come. But now I have hindsight. Oh, I wish I had seen him because he was my first, and he remembered me, and he remembered that he loved me because he did love me. I was scared as fuck to be with him. I don't know, but we were together for we played around for about a year and a half.
Is he older, younger, same age?
He happened to be 6 years older than myself at that time.
Okay.
And he was married, and me and his girlfriend, and my girlfriend at the time, and his wife, and he already had, at that time, he had 2 kids. And my girlfriend had a kid, had a little boy. And they were all around the same age, so we would kind of like go on double dates and go like to the fair and shit together. We played it off. But the women did not expect that we were messing around with each other.
So y'all going all to the drive-in theater watching Grease and shit, and y'all just all fucking around.
Well, it was the idea the women would go off to the bathroom together, and then when we play with each other's dick, sit in the car while the women were gone, and then we get back into what was happening like that. It was very exciting.
I was trying to be facetious saying the drive-in theater, but you're like, oh yeah, we're in the car and stuff.
You mentioned the drive-in theater. Yes, we was matter of fact, it was a drive-in theater that we had went to at one time.
I was trying to be a little
So
asshole, but you.
Yeah, we played it off. I mean, it was exciting. It was like my forbidden fruit, and I'm having it, and I'm also having the cake that I'm eating. It was like I was living the best world, so I know how I could get caught up into that bisexual world, and getting caught up into that to that DL world before it even had a name, but.
Well, see, but she's a beard for you, and she doesn't know she's a beard.
She was a beard for me and didn't know she was a beard, and she was a beard for him and didn't know. But at the end, he did tell me that she didn't know. At the end, she did know. Finally, he told her. But they stayed married, and they ended up having another kid. I remember she was pregnant with the 3rd kid when I kind of like went off in my separate ways and went on my whole adventurous whorishness at the beginning. It was like my eyes opened up, and it was like, oh God. When I finally, like I said, when I had sex with him, when I finally had that release of, yes, this is what I've been looking for all of my life. This is what I've been wanting. I've been wanting a man. I've been wanting that touch. I've been wanting that smell. I've been wanting that touch of the dick. I've been wanting to feel that. Once I left him, I couldn't help but I was always on the search, the look, the trying to find out, not to be seen, nobody to see. And then it was always so scary because when I came out and was coming out, and this is not to become about a coming out story or talking about, but AIDS was just coming out. And disco was ending, and everybody was talking about a gay disease. It was the gay man's plague. And it was so scary on top of layers of trying to find myself, who I am. And then I lean closer into the straight world. But thinking that I was going to do right, I leaned also more into the church world. And I started really getting into the church world. Now, mind you, I've been in the church world all my life, but where I mean getting into the church world, I started finding out that that whole scenario and stuff was happening in the church world was more gay than I've ever seen before. And I didn't have to go outside of trying to find someone on the streets. I just had to go to church.
Oh, yeah, the church, yeah.
It was like, so.
I mean, even in my town, they would tickle the hell out of me not to, they would get up there and say how bad it was to be a homosexual. And then as soon as doors to the church are open, I go downstairs, I'm being followed by two motherfuckers.
But it was so strange. I remember now, people,
and I'm like 15.
But I'm going to tell you a story about someone, and I swear to God, this happened in Austin, Texas. I swear. I'm not going to say, I shouldn't even say it Austin, Texas, because I don't want nobody to start, because I don't want to out nobody who's not out or what's going on, or kind of like, but if they were at history, and because of AIDS was coming out. The well-known sissy that played the piano and organ, he had the choir going. We would do everything. AIDS came out, turned around, he gets married. To a woman. Now, mind you, she was a beard. Everybody knew he come up with these elaborate ass Liberace sometime outfits because he's playing that organ. Everybody knew he was a hit. Everybody knew that he was a Liberace. But nobody said that he was gay because nobody really, at that time still, you were still under the closet even though you were, and then, so you had to play and he was doing, and everybody knew that he was. Yeah. But it wasn't seen. And then he got married and they gave this big elaborate wedding. She was decked down. He was dressed to the nines, and she was too. I mean, he looked so straight that you were thinking, like, what the fuck was this? I mean, he looked so straight on the pictures, and they all huggy, duggy, kissy. But yet, they end up having 4 kids. 4 kids. Now, I don't know if they were his kids or how it was, but she ended up getting pregnant 4 times and having kids. And so...
Did it look like him?
I didn't put that much attention into it to kind of like compare them.
Because black people, look, that's so, they'll say that's a Reynolds or McAmeyer in a minute.
I did not compare them. I had not looked at the kids and looked at him at that time. It was just the idea,
Because you look like your dad, right?
Oh yeah.
So you know how those people, they be like, yeah, that's a price.
Yeah, I look like my dad and my mom. We're somehow, that's another thing about how in that area how we all are kind of related. I have cousins on double sides of like for my mom.
So no one said that in church. Oh, that looks like a so and so. Because people.
Well, I never had that problem because I did always look like my dad.
No, I'm sorry, I meant with the organist.
Well, no, because the idea. Everybody was in shock. He was like the dad.
Oh, well.
Right? He was the ultimate. Well, he was the ultimate flamboyant type dad.
Well, one of the misconceptions about being gay, what people have, one of the many, is that people don't think that gays want to procreate. They think that they're against procreation.
And they also think that
And
we
that's
can't get our
usually-
dick hard to fuck another woman.
And
or
that's
fuck a woman.
not usually the case.
because
We're not usually
because
against
then
that.
it comes in. I found out when I was with a woman, it was not the idea that I cannot or have not been with a woman or all that. It's the woman has to be able to fuck my mind for me to fuck her body, and I'm not going to feel the toe tingling because I'm fucking her or having sex with her. It goes into the having sex things, or it goes into a making love type of thing. But if I had to choose one or the other, if I want to eat her out or suck his dick, I'd rather suck his dick than eat her out.
Yeah.
Who would I rather fuck? Would I rather fuck him or would I rather fuck her? I'd rather fuck him. Now, I've had both of them in between, because I have been an interesting person on this earth about sex, because I have been very sexual in my life. Like I said, my first threesome was with this stripper and this other woman, and I was 18 going on 19 years old. That's in the late 70s, early 80s, and that's when strip clubs were really coming about in small towns and all that, places like that. And I was actually the stripper's beard. I was actually the stripper's beard. She wanted me because I don't know how she picked me at it. So she wanted me to be like her man, so the other men would not mess with her, and she would strip on stage and everything. But yet she had a girlfriend, and that's who I had my first threesome with. They would get me off or have me in the middle, and I learned how to watch them, and I learned how to every once in a while, because it was like in my my little 18-year, it was like my dick was going crazy, and I had not slept with a man completely at that time.
Yeah.
So I was her beard. So we would go everywhere together. She even would go with me and around my family and stuff. I have pictures of her at the dog track with me and my dad, and I was like the hit of the thing, because here I am with this 18-year-old, and I'm 18-year-old, and I have this stripper, and all these old men, they were lusting after her, and they, the whole thing. And then she is all over me and kissing all over me and all that stuff like that. And I was Herbert. They did not, even though I was trying my best to come out, I couldn't sleep with no man at that time. It was just the idea when I was in my teens. It was just all my sex in my teens was with women, basically. Now, I had a neighbor, we had cut off sex. We were playing when I was younger, but we never did have no penetration. Only thing we did, we sucked each other's dick for about 2 seconds, and then we got scared. And then after that, we had never talked no more since. We didn't talk any more since that time happened. I'm serious. We went to school together. We didn't say nothing.
So no, I never had the concept of a beard. I had female friends, so the concept of the gay male female friendship type of thing, I had that, but never in the concept of having a beard. Now, fast forwarding when I moved to LA, and I did a little bit of modeling, I was what they call like a walker or something, when you would take like an older woman to some of the benefits and all like that, and you'll be on their arm and all like that. So I did that, but that was me being more of a beard for them. Just sort of, they just need a companion. Half the times they were married, and the husband just wasn't going to go to that function. He was like, I'm not going to that shit. Get one of your walkers or something like that to do it, to go with you. So that I did, but that wasn't really a beard type of thing. That was just more a concept of just being on the arm of a woman while she went to this type of function or something in Hollywood or whatever. But having female friends, I had them, and they knew I was gay, and I had a concept of them being straight. Majority of them were straight, at least to my knowledge. And our friendship was interesting because they knew I was gay. I had told them. They knew some of my conquests, but I knew their conquests also at the same time. So let's say when we were teenagers, with that group of female friends and my male friend, and he was just a male friend. We weren't doing anything. He was just like a friend of mine. We would all go out, and their families who kind of knew that something was up with me and the other male friend was fine with it. It was like, yeah, I'd rather have them with these two gay guys and not with their boyfriends possibly doing God knows what. Because, like I said, we were act as protection for them and vice versa, And then fast forwarding as a young adult, when I would go out with female friends, I know some of the times they wouldn't want to go to a straight club. They'd rather go to the gay club because one, the music was better. Two, the gay guy would protect them to a certain degree. And three, if they did want to get laid, because straight men would go with their gay friends to the gay club because they knew the straight women would go to the gay clubs when they just wanted to dance and not be bothered.
But see, now I'm going to say, now this is where I grew up in an era before you.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was popular in some kind of ways to have a gay man. And they always wanted the flamboyant one. And if you wasn't flamboyant, they really didn't. They wanted someone to go shopping with.
Mm-hmm.
There was always someone to go shopping with. I got caught up there in a way, like I was saying with my cousin, because I used to dress that bitch. She used to be fine. I got her that little black dress with the sheer sleeves and be cut out here and sheer and down to here, and then that black velvet type of dress. She wore that thing for years and always was in style and in fashion. Till she couldn't get in the bitch no more. That was just saying that because, I had her with the little hat on the side and all. I mean, every year I'd have her with something else with it. But anyway, she was my idol. I looked up to her. A lot of my first happened in my life was being with my cousin who was 11 years older than myself. So when I was 11 years old, 12 years old, I was smoking weed at 12 because of her. I would roll joints, and at the time it was weed and it had seeds in it. You had to scrape it out. I was a scraper, and I would roll the joints. I could roll a joint just as good as I could almost a cigarette. I'd roll a joint for them, and they all be getting high and everything else, and everybody be drinking and everything. So I was also drinking. Now drinking is something I started with my father. So I've been drinking for a long time before 12 years old. Actually drinking because my father would allow that. I was a little ahead of my time in a lot of ways, but I was slow when it came to being what you would say gay, and I knew that I loved men from the age of 8 years old and could not act upon it actually the way that I needed, that you could feel this is what I've been looking for, this is what I've been wanting all my life until I was 20 years old. And then when I was 20 years old, that's when after having sex, it's just strangely oddly enough that this is when faith and religion goes into what's going on, and I had to go and really work with myself because I was 20 years old. My mother had her first stroke a month after I had sex with the guy. And he and I was having sex for the third time when I got the call. Okay, so I thought being religious and everything, I had sex with the man. And less than a month after, because we had sex the third time, and after the third time I had sex with this man, my mother had this massive stroke. And back at those days, I was very much into the church, very much into the Baptist, and then the Holy Roly Church, and my mother was a Methodist, my father was a Baptist, my godparents. I was a gumbo of religion and faith back then, Presbyterian, and all these things that I grew up. I went to for my first and second grade, then I had to do it all over again, but that's another story, where I was in this parochial school with all these little white kids when I was a young boy. I had all these religions in my mind, and it was all about being with another man was taboo, sin. That was the biggest sin you could be. I was thinking that God was really coming at me, being very vengeful because I slept with a man. With that being said, I did go into having a girl more. Okay. The girl that I was going with. And the guy who I had been going with, the one who I actually went to bed with when I was 20 years old, I let him go, kind of like, oh no, but he kept pursuing me. He kept being there as a friend. And that's when we would go out with, and even though it was like he was a nurse at that time. He was also a nurse in the Air Force, because I was in Bergstrom Air Force Base at the time, and he was one of those nurses out there, Air Force nurse. He would also go, he was in service too, that was another story. Would tell me how to help my mother and what to do. He was a friend, he was a base, he was like an angel in a lot of ways. We would meet up and have sex in the car. It was nothing more than just jacking off, basically. Giving a little head. I was scared to give head. He taught me how to give head. I would suck his dick after I learned, and he would tell me what to do, because I actually was very naive at that time.
And that's 20.
Yeah, I was 20.
Naivete at 20.
With a man.
Oh, you were a pro with the women by then, huh?
I was having unfulfilled sex.
Well, yeah, if they passing out, that's pretty much pro. I ain't never heard nobody say that.
It was unfulfilled sex. I was having unfulfilled. I was trying to make up for who I wasn't, or who I wanted to be, or I wanted to be talked about like this.
Well, you were allowing society to subjugate you to that of a straight man.
Yes, and I had to overdo it.
And by doing that, you use women as a process.
But I only kept, because I was not going out with a lot of women. That was not my whole thing, because Lord knows if I could just keep one woman, that's all I always wanted. Just let me keep one, because I was not trying to be dibble down with 5 or 6 years like that was. And I saw all the shit that everybody else was going through, and I said, oh hell no. And then the time that I did do that, I caught gonorrhea twice from women, because I was trying, and it was from the same girl, because.
And you sure you ain't got no youngins?
And I ain't got no youngins.
Oh, okay.
It's strange. I got pictures of all these girls. It's like I think about it. So in my early 20s, it was like it was confusing sexual time, but yet it was coming off the heels of the very most sexual time in American histories in the 70s. With the drugs, the alcohol, cocaine, and all that. And then I'm coming out in the 80s, and then that's when Richard Pryor get freebasing Burns, and then I'm at the time over to my cousin, the one who I started rolling the joints with. I'm over to the house, and her boyfriend is teaching me how to freebase in his drawers, and I'm looking at his dick and them together, and he grabs me and takes a hit and put my first hit of freebase cocaine that he taught me how to mix up in a little jar. Mm-hmm. And no, it was baby food jar. Baby food used to come in a jar at that time. And you mix it up there and put the hot water, and you have your tongs and all that stuff, and you mix up your rock, and then you had the torch, and he would take a hit, and he pulled me close, and that was the most sensuous kiss. What wasn't a kiss that I had in my entire life at that time. At that time, I was maybe like 21, 22 when that happened. And, that just made my whole I had to run out of that house. I was just so high and so horny and all that. And I'm looking at him, and that's my cousin, and I couldn't think of nothing, because I couldn't sit there. My dick was getting hard. I'm looking at his dick, and I'm looking at, and it was like everything was whirlwinding around me. But I did call my girlfriend, and this is so funny, my cousin was going with my girlfriend's stepdaddy.
I'm sorry, repeat that?
My cousin, the one that I was talking about, I rolled my first joint, smoked all this stuff.
Yeah.
She was going with the guy who happens to be my girlfriend at the time, stepfather.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It was so funny. It was so funny. I would go over to the house, and he'd be over there, and I had to act like I didn't know what was going on. But that was just the way life was at that time. Men fucked around. And I would, mind you, if I had stayed around him, I think I could have had him at the time, because the way he put that smoke in my mouth and all that stuff, looking back on hindsight, that motherfucker was fucking around. He could fuck around.
Yeah, you can pass drugs on to somebody without having to tongue kiss them.
Yeah, but the way he pulled me, it's like I've only been pulled 3 times like that in my entire life, and where a man had their lips together with me, but he didn't put no tongue in my mouth. But these other 2 did. But seemed like it was that same kind of my eyes opened up passion type of thing, the way he grabbed me and blew the smoke in my lungs, in my mouth.
Did you ever have hickeys?
No, I don't like people running around my neck. That's a turn off to me. That's a turn off. If you want me to stop having sex in the middle of having sex, don't be kissing me and kissing around my neck. That's my little pet peeve.
You mean you don't mind? You don't want a hickey, or you don't want to be kissed?
I don't like that. That's too sensitive.
Oh, okay.
And it's so sensitive that it makes me where I'll stop in the middle and say no. And that comes from also too, because I used to be ticklish around my neck. Growing up being the only child, they would tickle me around my neck, and I had to learn to take the power of stopping where I wouldn't laugh or act crazy when they would tickle me around my neck. So when in the process of having sex, I had to let go of that power or that energy that I have there. Then it's too sensitive and I can't deal with it. So that's a stop.
Oh, okay. I mean, I'm not a neck person. I don't really like it. Because, I told you about that time that vampire bit me.
Oh, yeah, that's your dumb ass. Dumbass. Well, we got off the whole subject of you. Okay. They're going to ask, what is it? I mean, they're going to say, well, what do you mean this vampire bit your neck? So we're going to have to talk about that another time. But that's true.
Give me a nice little hickey there.
I never had hickeys. I've given hickeys. That was the thing to do growing up in the 70s in middle school, 11th, 12th grade. When I first had my first kiss with a girl, I was like in the 12th grade. I was in 12th because my choir director, this is so funny too, our choir director got caught sucking dick at the Greyhound bus station. And it was all in the news and everything. Oh, it was so funny back then. That put another stigma about fear about being homosexual, gay, and all that's going on. It was so strange growing up in that time where they didn't have individual stalls. Everybody had troughs, and you pee there at the troughs and everything. But to say all that, he also was married.
Yeah. Well, to me, one of the things, it's twofold. I have always felt, I'm not pity, but I always felt sorry sometimes for women because if I had $1 for every straight man I had, a lot of them were married, some of them were married, some of them would travel distances to get away from their wife to do whatever they wanted to do. And they would just be into guys. And it was just one of those things that they would do. And you would say, well, when they finally admitted that maybe they were married or something, you would say, well, what's going on with you and your wife? And then they would just sit up and just sort of just regurgitate all of the problems that they're having. And I'm just like, well, where's your wife now? Oh, well, she's at home and she's doing this. I said, well, she's doing the same thing you're doing? No. I said, well, what if she did? He was like, oh, I would, kill her or something like that. I end up on Dateline. So to me, I've always felt bad for women because they were just acting as this beard for a lot of men just because they were kind of being forced to do what society told them to do. Now, at the end of the day, they technically were straight, but at the same time, they were going out and getting satisfaction from gay guys to a degree. And I just always sort of felt sorry for women that had to deal with that crap.
That was the time I used to feel sorry for them. But then I realized a woman, the older and older, and my experiences with women, my experience, I'm going to say mine, I always ended up in having, not arguments, I'm not one to argue and all that stuff with a woman. I never did argue with them. I ghosted their asses. So I didn't have an argument with them. I didn't give them actually the time of day after if I was through with them.
Yeah.
So, and back then it was easier to do that back in, say, the early 80s because it was still, it wasn't, everybody didn't have a cell phone. It was like, it was somebody's home phone, or you go to the pay phone or go down to the neighbor's house and try to get the phone, because a lot of people still didn't have phones back in Texas like that. Mm-hmm. It was easy to say, yeah, I'll call you and not talk to that person no more ever. So that was a different time and era. I came out, like I said, I had my first sexual experience with a man when I was 20 years old. I came out to my family when I was 28 years old. Mm-hmm. I moved to Los Angeles when I was 26 years old. Mm-hmm. I lived in London when I was 23, 24, come to 25, moved back to Austin, Texas. But in between that time, I also had moved in 1983 to Bronx, New York, on 229th Street in Lacona. Mm-hmm. I always remember that. But prior to that, I tried to live with my sister because I was chasing a dream. And my dream was to get out of Austin, Texas. Mm-hmm. So I did not necessarily have where people would say that I was gay because I always had this other woman. I had a woman around me, and they just thought I was just flamboyant. Mm-hmm. They thought I was like the guy that I was saying that was at the pianist. Because if he could get married and have kids, there was nothing for Herbert Price, and Herbert Price had this reputation of knocking bitches out with his tongue. Mm-hmm. They never said that I fucked him now. And so that was very popular because it was like back in the 80s, not the idea, it was people weren't doing it. It was just about, they just didn't talk about it. And my whole thing, they talked about it.
So I never, I just always felt sorry for women to a certain degree with that. And I know, like, having friends with females, let's say straight females, I would hang around them. Some of them, I don't think I really ever had what you would call a fag hag. But I did have friends that would gravitate towards gay guys. And some of them would be their best friends that they would hang out with. Now, I did see there was this dichotomy of them like, yeah, I want to be your friend and we're close, but if you fuck with my brother or something like that or my uncle, then that's all it's all, because my brother don't do that shit. And they turn into the homophobic type of thing. Okay. But it's okay with everyone somebody else. But because I had that situation here in LA. I had it in Birmingham in college, and I had it here. Miss Sting was ride or die with gays. Just Miss Sting would be up there in your face, cursing somebody out if they said something about a gay guy. But her brother came home, and he was just staring at me, and I saw it. And then she saw it, and she literally stopped the conversation and pulled me into the room and said, "Do not touch him." Yeah. And I was like, "Who are you talking about?" She's like, "My fucking brother." And I was like, I said, "Well, one, he's looking at me. Two, I'm looking at him because he's staring at me." I said, "So you need to go and talk to your brother." And she was like, "Well, just don't mess with my brother." And I was like, "No, okay." But he didn't listen to her. He kept pursuing me and shit. And I kept telling her, I said, "Well, you know what? Your sister doesn't want me to be anywhere around you." And so I had to ask her. Now, don't get me wrong. I was a little, in college I wasn't that promiscuous. I was a hoe. I was a hoe back in high school. But by the time I went to college, where you would have been sowing your oats, I'd already sowed my oats back when I was in high school. So I was, I wasn't messing around that much. But don't get me wrong. I had men. But I wasn't a hoe. But she knew that I could be. So I thought at the time, she didn't want me to be around him because maybe I was like promiscuous. But she just didn't want me around him at all. She was like, "No, they don't do that. He doesn't do that." And then he was a little bit younger. I was maybe like 20. He was maybe like 19 at the time. Maybe, yeah, he was like 19. But then her uncle came after me. And she did the same damn thing. And so I was stopping, and someone had told me, she said, "Well," and another person was like older.
You put the whole family fucks around, shit. I guess she should have said, "Just don't be friends with none of the men in the family."
At first I was like, it was so funny because she had a friend who was older gay. You know, you have those older gays that would sort of break it down for you and stuff. He was like, "Yeah," so, sometimes the fag hags, they don't want you with their family members. He said that's when the homophobia would come out. He said that's why it's
But they won't talk about everybody else.
But
they won't talk about everybody else who's getting turned out.
Yeah.
But they don't want nobody to talk about them because the way you talked about them, somebody else is talking about your family.
Exactly. And she said, yeah, they don't
But see,
want that. And I was like, well, that is the most stupidest thing
but,
because we're close friends, but we literally almost stopped talking. And I started feeding her with the long handle of
but I
the spoon.
understand that in a way, in a way.
But that's kind of that gay female
thing. I understand it because women. I really did not have this girl as my best friend. My best friend was hanging around this girl, and they would do awkwardly flirting. But her mama was well known in town was a lesbian. Now this was like. Ooh, at that time I had not slept with a man, so I was like 18, 19. I was in that area, and this woman, I used to love this woman. I'm not giving names because I don't want to put them out there, and some of them are still alive. The story goes, her mom was gay, and my cousin, he was like a cousin, but he was we had the same cousin on different sides. It was like the way my mother and my father's like. My mother's niece married my father's nephew, and when they got married, he was the niece. He was my father's. It was like it was entangled. So that's what happened with them. Mm-hmm. So he was still like my cousin, and we go to family reunions and stuff like that. He would still be at a family reunion with his best friend. We grew up together. He was the first person I told I was gay and all that stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But he and I had a competition about women. We had because the girl that I made pass out he was fucking her too. So she became pregnant and she didn't know whose baby it was, hers or mine or his, and found out that it wasn't his and it wasn't mine, so she was fucking somebody else at the time. And I became the child's godparent, but I was a horrible godparent because I never saw that baby no more after we sat there and I did the sprinkling, held the baby in my hand, took a picture. I still got the picture, but I haven't had no more about that. But anyway, moving fast forward. In my life, with going out back in those days, I did not have family because when I left, I was in search of a dream. So I did not do a family. I did not do anything like that. Now, when the brief stay that I stayed in Austin, when I came back in Austin, I had my apartment for about a year and a half, almost, Mm-hmm. Because I moved here to Los Angeles in 1987. Mine's always seven. Sevens is just great for me. 1987, and I was 26 years old. I only in that brief time before then, it was a brother that I was messing with, and his other brother. When I came home one time, the club closed, and we were talking about fucking, but we never did. So I never did do none of that. I missed out on all that kind of interesting type of fucking. I did have a brief stay at that time, which made me realize that I had to go because I was still playing too. So I had this girlfriend, and I don't ever call her a beard, but she knew I was messing around, and she was lesbian too. And she's the first woman that ever squirted on me and made me like, oh, there's that trauma I had about sex with a woman at that time.
I'm sorry, she did what?
Squirted.
Oh.
You never went with a woman?
What are you?
Women can squirt like a man squirt out of his penis. And I mean, it can squirt all over. And I mean, sometimes it can be a flood of fluid all over you.
Oh, good. Good Lord. Hold on. Prepare me for this shit if you're going to be getting that damn heterosexual talking crap. The hell. Oh.
Yeah, a woman can squirt and
you keep saying it.
It's like semen. It comes out like semen, and some men love it. Some men love to catch it in their mouth when they're giving oral sex and all that kind of stuff. They love it. I for a while I thought it was piss coming out, but it's not. It's a fluid, like semen.
Oh. Look, I've seen semen. I don't think it looks like that.
Yeah, it looks. But it comes out. It comes out like It shoots out like pee in a way, but then it has, and that's just one way that a woman can come. The other way she comes inside of it, it has where it comes that little creamy stuff, and that's why all men now talking about they want to make somebody cream. I don't understand that shit because I never heard about nobody creaming fucking from behind in my life until recently. These young kids talk about making somebody cream, unless you put a lot of lube in the ass and you fucking and it gets all white and creamy, or you use like that's the lotion and it makes it creamy and all that kind of stuff. But I had never really heard about somebody making somebody have an orgasm inside of them and make them cream. But that's another story in itself. Don't you give a story about your ass?
Y'all give me too much information about women down there. It's a very complicated system.
It's a very complicated
Because don't they have like 8 holes down there?
And what I'm jealous of a woman because just like I was saying, the girl that I had sex and had passed out at that time. It's
well, how do y'all even know where to go? It's like 5 or 6 damn orifices down there.
It's actually you're only going to do one if you can reach one. If you can do one, then they have the other.
Reach one?
Because it's all in different, different spots, and then you can put your finger. If you can put your finger in one little thing, then you can put your finger in the ass, and then they can kind of like get a feel.
But how do you know which is which?
But it's all about you playing with it.
Oh, okay. No, that's
you gotta play with it. You gotta play with it to find out which way what's going to happen. But yeah, she squirts and she can squirt in your face and all, and she doesn't help. And it's like it builds up in it. And what kills me, that's what makes me sometimes jealous about not being, because it's like it's the ultimate orgasm. It just squirts out. It's like it's the full release that you could ever have. And when she squirts, or if she's riding you, and it's just like a flood of water comes out of you, or like it's like it's amazing sometimes.
Well, I heard it because you told me about that man that had that woman, and she was coming, and he didn't know if she was pissing or coming.
Yeah, that's what I said. You don't know if it's pissing or not, and then when that first happened to me, that's like I was saying, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what was going on when it first happened.
Oh, I would have ran out screaming.
Women back then did a lot of stuff to me, made me really realize that I really wanted to be with a man, because it was like, for some reason, I would rather have a man clean himself out and don't have to worry about having that than a woman always could come on you and just flood you like that. And and it always had a different odor, a different smell, a different taste, and a different feel in your mouth. So you had to really, and if it didn't taste right then or smell right then, you didn't do nothing. And then that was a turnoff. But that's me talking about women. I'm not going to talk about women. We're talking about beards.
Oh, God, just prepare me for that shit.
And that's what men think supposed to be finding sexy about being with a woman. It's the smell, it's the odor, it's the wetness, it's all that.
Well, I give it to the pheromones, but I don't need the smelling that.
And sometimes, sometimes it tastes good. It did.
Oh, Lord Jesus Christ.
But I'm veering off.
Please get back on track.
We're veering way off from the subject.
Please get back on track. Oh.
I didn't have it because my fag hat was my cousin, like I said. So she was my cousin. She was my fag hat. She was my all until my 30s, late 30s. And we had a falling out. We were very close, and like night and day, she picked this old man who she was fascinated with and just threw me to the curb. She fell in love with this old man, and he was married, and she loved going to his house, and he was married, and when the wife was out of town, she'd go try on her clothes and shit, and they fuck in the bed with her clothes on. It was like, that was some weird shit. But she still would tell me that shit. That seemed like that was just really weird. Where, the man is married and when the wife is out of town, he had some balls, so he really didn't care anything about his wife. To let another woman come in, try on her clothes, then y'all gonna fuck in the bed in her lingeries and stuff, and she's taking pictures of it. That's low.
Well, I can't really say anything about that.
Yeah, Lord.
I can't really say nothing about that. I was not putting on her Anne Klein.
Oh, Lord, no, don't tell me you did that.
I did have a situation.
We're going to stop right here. Part 2 continues immediately. Thanks for listening.